I am here at Stream Asia with Aryeh Sternberg, who is the digital director at Group M Interaction, currently based in Ho Chi Minh, but moving to Jakarta to talk about what's going on in both of those fascinating markets in Southeast Asia. Vietnam, with one of the youngest populations in Asia, very digitally savvy, but facing also hurdles with things like the on-off blockage of Facebook. Give us a little update. Is Facebook blocked in Vietnam, or is it not blocked, or both?
Yeah, so it's a funny story that the government says it's not. If you ask anybody on the street, they'll say, well, I can't get into Facebook. The reality is that different ISPs are intermittently blocking it on and off, and that's on directive from the government. There's a letter out there that's been circulated. The recent activity in Libya and Egypt and elsewhere caused
a little bit more blocking it than unblocking.
Full blockage.
Full blockage,
from the internet and on mobile as well. But again, that's depending how smart you are.
Okay, and with this blockage, why can't the government do the full blockage in the China sort of style, cutting off sites so effectively? What is it structurally in Vietnam?
Right. Well, you've got the close ties with the U.S. You've got the U.S.-Vietnam trade agreement that was pushed through, I believe, at the end of 2009. And with that, a lot of the areas of this sort of like questionable American content, and American being Facebook, the government cannot directly block it. I do know that some of the local
because of the trade agreement.
Because of the trade agreement.
China doesn't seem to bother China. They're a signatory to the WTO, but interesting that Vietnam feels that pressure.
Yeah, well...
For those who don't understand, the blockage of internet services is actually a violation of the WTO, which internet companies are now considering mounting a challenge, Google specifically, to China, saying that they're violating their WTO agreement by having censorship by blocking these websites.
Yeah, the answer to that question is very easy. How much cash does Vietnam have and how much cash does China have?
Right.
So it's a...
Okay, we don't let us block these websites, we're going to stop all toys this Christmas.
Yeah, yeah. But what's happened is there's been an emergence of, kind of like China, some of the local social networks have boomed up.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about that. But first
Sure,
of all, in terms of the blockage, is it just Facebook or is it other social media?
It's just Facebook.
Just Facebook. Okay,
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the other networks. There's also a government-sponsored social network. Is that going to go anywhere?
Government-sponsored social network launched and crashed. Should we cut? Yeah.
It already crashed.
It already crashed. There's another two that are planned. No high hopes. The one that's really made a lot of noise is one called Zing. And
Zing.me.
Zing.me. So Zing.me. But Zing launched with sort of a portal. There's Zing MP3.
What is Zing?
Zing is, it started as content sharing, news content sharing, a forum. They added in Zing.me, which is...
Any foreign involvement with it, or is it domestic driven?
China. So
QQ.
Tencent, is a very large investor. Well, small money, large strategic investment.
IP, yeah.
So,
yeah.
So they built their Zing.me membership, which is somewhere around 6 or 7 million right now, pretty much mostly on games. But then that's a very, very young audience, from about 14 to 21, whereas the Zing MP3 portal, which is the biggest music sharing site, is much more about 20 to 30. And so you've got very different audiences going to different parts of the sites.
What about Cyworld? They're also involved there.
Cyworld is there. It's been a very
Korean-based social media.
Yep. I think that they were playing off the fact, expecting that the sort of avatar-based, mini home and all of that was going to kick off. The Cyworld in Vietnam is quite different from Cyworld in Korea, and the way that it's used. A very strong user base, about 1.2 million, but not really growing. But they've been one of the few that have actually been successful at pushing through brand actual sales. So getting people to buy something, come back, give a testimonial, and doing campaigns like that.
And how big, so comparing those three, Zing, Facebook,
Cyworld.
And Cyworld, are those the three dominant players?
There's another one called Yumi, and they were started by a company called Dean Yang, which thought that they were going to get bought by Yahoo early on. That didn't happen. So they sort of pushed into this sort of more taking over the blogging space.
Right.
So blogging, Yahoo 360 was a blogging platform. You had
Until
about,
it got shut down by Yahoo.
Shut down by Yahoo, reformatted. So you have Yahoo 360 Plus, the only country in the world, I believe, that actually still has that alive. But because of the strictness of their structure and just the way blogging trends sort of went down, Facebook sort of blew up at about the same time. So you had about 70,000 people on Facebook. Within 3 months, you had 700,000. Now you've got somewhere around 3 to 3.5 million. And
on Facebook?
On Facebook, yeah, with the blocking.
Right.
And so Facebook continues to grow. And initially it started with photo sharing, then it got into a little bit more of status wall updates. Now it's about finding friends, because there's enough people on there that people can connect.
We've hit a critical mass in Vietnam.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So let's switch gears towards Indonesia. Speaking of Facebook, the number 2 nation in the world.
Yep.
Bahasa Indonesia is number 3 or 4 language on Facebook, I think. How important is Facebook to Indonesia, and you've been based down there now for how long?
On and off about 8 months.
8 months, okay.
Yeah.
What is your sense of that? What's unique, what's different about Indonesia and Facebook?
Well, I think what's unique about Indonesia, and not just Facebook, but Twitter as well, and just the way people communicate is it's very gossip driven. And so what I've noticed in Twitter is that it's not used in the way that's used in other countries.
The high-minded philosophical academic debates we see elsewhere on Facebook.
Right. I mean, you do get, the 70% of fluff, but it's much more of a email replacement. And so you get people using it as...
Sorry, email replacement in Indonesia?
In Indonesia, yeah. So, Facebook is not going to go anywhere with the low cost of phones.
Not going to go anywhere, meaning stay at
It's going to stay. It's going to keep blowing up. Yeah,
Okay.
You've got phones that cost $40 that are one-touch Facebook, and it's just going to keep exploding. But from a branding perspective, the brands aren't quite understanding what you want to be doing in there,
right.
And so it's still about building fans, not actually engagement, and that's the same in Vietnam. Although we're getting a little bit more further in Vietnam. Yeah.
Okay, so really, these two markets have a deep penetration of Facebook and social media, but not yet an understanding of how they can be used by the companies themselves.
Not completely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.